The obvious choices for career
Yeah.
were, in those days, was MBA, masters, you be an engineer, or you be a doctor, or you be a failure. So I also chose finance, and the funny thing is I did my masters in finance, and if someone asked me a question,
Yeah.
I wasn't very comfortable looking at these balance sheets and
Right.
and then they used to look at me and say that
कभी ना बीवी के नाम पे कुछ नहीं करना चाहिए. And I was shocked. I was like, the women are leaving their houses, lives, livelihoods, everything to come into your life, and you say no, you don't know कब divorce हो सकता है, you don't know क्या हो सकता है.
Hi everybody, welcome to Reset Your Life. All your life is about change, challenges and chances. In this program, I like to meet and introduce various people from various fields of life who we can learn from, be inspired from. There's no age limit, there's no age group, there's no gender. I think it's about human beings and how they are along their journey, how they are facing their challenges, how they're tackling change and how they're taking chances. I hope we can inspire you and we can all learn together. Today I welcome here Hemangi Dhir, who is the founder of a skincare brand, Botanal. Hi Hemangi.
Hi Preeti, thank you so much for having me today.
So Hemangi, let's start off soon. Tell me something about your professional life and tell me how you went off into this career. So let's talk about your journey.
So I graduated from the University of South Carolina back in 2014. And then I realized that, maybe finance was my passion, and I quickly got a job with Ernst & Young doing financial consulting.
So you studied finance?
Yes, finance and management.
Okay.
Got a job with EY in Washington, D.C., gave it about a year and a half, and then the whole visa situation where, as an international student, that didn't sort of happen. So I moved back to India. My parents are into garment exporting, worked with them for a while, realized that, maybe that wasn't my cup of tea. And then right at the brink of COVID, I tried to sort of start this co-working business, and then COVID hit and it, had to be shut down. And then never really realized that I was just sort of interested in skincare. It was like always not even really a hobby. Maybe back in America, my skin was a lot different because of the weather, not as much pollution, the food that I was eating, I was walking a lot. And then as soon as I came back, the lifestyle shifted a lot, and it was in the middle of my 20s. So I just started going a lot of sort of changes with my skin and started seeing them as well very visibly. And then just started buying all these products, applying them on my face, and then realized that, okay, I have so much of time on my hands, let me just start reading about them. In general, I was just curious about the ingredients. And then the next thing you know, I'm like in my kitchen with, during lockdown, just buying ingredients and making body butters, lotions, serums, foundations, blushes.
So did you start off as the thought of a business, or was it
No,
just
no,
something
it was just a passion. It was
something to pass your time right now? And,
yeah, we were in COVID.
And everybody was digging into their passions and discovering new things about themselves during COVID.
Yeah, it was COVID, and besides going like crazy alone, this was a way to sort of keep myself occupied, and I was anyway interested, and I love reading and researching things. So that's how it sort of started.
It's very interesting. I mean, being a millennial.
Yeah.
You still, do you think it was pressure which made you choose, or this the way we've been conditioned that, okay, you study management or you study this? It's something people tend to go to automatically. You don't automatically, when you graduate, choose. Very rarely I'll find people who study beauty or stuff like that. So, I mean, did you feel pressure at that time that you have to have this particular path of life and get into finance, or you thought that was the only way?
No, not really. I think it was not really. Definitely there was conditioning because, before you go to college, you're studying in Delhi. You already go with the intention of either probably returning back or otherwise getting a job in the States or, somewhere abroad, or coming back and then getting a job. So I think that was something which was sort of embedded in my system as well, that, either I would just sort of
get
figure
a job
out
in finance,
right,
or, the safe,
right.
Those are the safe
bets.
In your life.
Not easy, but safer than obviously
Yeah.
starting your own business.
And your first job was with the Ernst & Young.
Yeah.
And why didn't you go back to that career? I mean, you studied, you spent all your time studying finance, and and then why didn't you go back to it? I just want to know.
It's a funny thing you say this, and many people have asked me this question before, and the only way that I've sort of responded to them is this. Whenever somebody would ask me a financial related question, that, okay, give me advice on this, my first thing would be lost for a bit, and then be like, okay, let me get back to you on that. And now when someone asks me a skincare or beauty related thing, it's almost like I have photographic memory.
Okay.
So obviously it is a innate calling.
Yeah.
And now this is the only thing I know, and I can't really undo this.
No, it's beautiful because I'll tell you the same thing is when I was growing up, and the obvious choices for career were in those days was MBA, masters. You be an engineer, or you be a doctor, or you be a failure. so I wanted to be a designer at that time, and I don't think my father was very receptive to that thought, and I didn't have that kind of wisdom to have learned to follow my dreams at that stage. So I also chose finance, and the funny thing is I did my masters in finance, and if someone asked me a question, I wasn't very comfortable looking at these balance sheets, and and then they used to look at me and say that, but you've studied finance, you've done your masters in finance, and that doesn't mean I didn't have that kind of mindset. That doesn't make you smarter or less smarter.
No.
So it's wonderful that you, at a good stage in your life, you dabbled around with a few career options. You said you went into co-working spaces.
Yeah.
And then you started experimenting with the products.
Yeah.
And that's how it flew.
Yeah, it just came extremely naturally to me, and I wish I'd taken chemistry more seriously in school because that's actually the basis of.
But do you think people who, now that it is a little bit of a more defined career path, the beauty industry and getting into these kind of products and entrepreneurship, and so people are taking these chances, what would you tell yourself you could have done differently a few years ago, knowing that this was an option you had? I mean, you didn't know this was an option you had.
No. Knowingly, honestly, I have zero regrets in my life.
I know, but anything you think people can do when they know for certain, maybe when they're 20?
Probably take up those kind of courses, which...
so there are things out there to educate people on this?
Yeah. There are like cosmetic chemist courses that you can take. You can take, how to become certified in building plant-based formulations. So there are multiple courses available, and that too online. So you can just go sign up and take those classes and start your own journey. But also it has to come from within, that, okay, I am interested in this career choice or a career path. Do I want to actually explore? The issue that happens with most people is that even though they have that want or maybe a desire, the determination isn't strong enough.
It isn't strong enough, yeah.
So that is something that I think most people have to sort of delve into.
So tell me, did you face a lot of, obviously, like you told me you had one failed business.
Yeah.
And it's not easy as you got into this and then wow, it took off. So what are the challenges you faced? Number one, I want to know, when you told your parents, okay, they've spent this X amount of money and you went abroad and you did your education, and then you come back and then you say, okay, now I don't want to use my education and I want to get into something else.
Yeah.
So did you face some kind of opposition there, and how did you deal with it? And also setting up this business and the challenges you faced along the line, because nothing is a bed of roses only.
Right.
So what is it you faced and how did you overcome all that?
Specifically related at home, I actually had a lot of support, and I will say that this is in a very, very necessary step. I'm not saying just from home. It could be your spouse or a romantic partner or friends or anyone that sort of gives you that emotional or mental support. It is necessary to get that level of motivation that it's okay, I screwed up. Now let me sort of regain that back, the motivation again, and then start something new, knowing very well that you could completely fail again.
Yes.
So failure isn't just that you've had it once, you can't have it, second time, third time, fourth time. Something specifically with business that, it was very easy to be like, okay, I'm making these formulas at home and got extremely excited about it. Now what? What is the next step? That was a major challenge, was sort of figuring out how do I get these products manufactured? Now, I can't just make these products in my kitchen and start selling them to customers, right? It's a skincare item at the end of the day. When somebody has to trust you when they're applying that product on their skin, that it's not going to give them any kind of allergies or reactions or rashes. So all my products have to be FDA approved. Now for that I need a manufacturer who was already FDA approved and could get my formulas FDA approved as well. So that was the first challenge, because again, just starting out in business, I can't order large quantities.
Yeah.
So finding the right person. So I went from manufacturer to manufacturer to manufacturer, not only building my own formulations at the back end, but also like interesting and hoping that, okay, maybe one person will be like, it's all right, I'll do low.
And the biggest question you must have faced at that time was, kitna chahiye?
Yeah, like price point, because we live in a very price conscious
Society,
society, right?
correct,
So
yeah.
creating a brand which is also premium in terms of product but also affordable in terms of price is probably one of the biggest challenge. It's very easy to go to a manufacturer and be like, make me 10 pieces and I'll be selling them at 5,000 rupees a pop. But that doesn't sell, right? Because you have your international brands again already saturated in that space. So you have to give them that level of product of an international standard with those ingredients, but bring it to a mass market price. So yeah, it is, it's not easy. It's just like you have to stick your ground that I'm not going to budge on my prices, or I'm not going to budge on the quality of the product, and then just keep on going manufacturer after manufacturer. And then eventually you will hit that one person who will be like, okay, fine, I'll do it for you.
So tell me something, in today's, of course, many years ago, you heard of Shehnaz Hussain, and there was Biotique, and of course you have the big conglomerates who have Lakme and all those products, which were the ones people usually used. And then you have few people who travel abroad and have access to foreign products.
Yeah.
These days, with social media, you have a lot of companies, individuals who've come up with home formulations, kitchen formulations, and a lot of brands which have come up. And how do you differentiate yourself from those mom and pop stores, to call, or as you call them?
So I spoke about this in one of the panels, and I said that if anything, COVID, so every brand has its own niche,
Right.
which they can find. So yeah, there is direct and indirect competition, but it just depends on the kind of product that you're introducing. So for me, now I followed
For Botanical,
for Botanical, we followed a strategy wherein like I was offering both essential products like every other brand had, and also like very unique products which nobody was doing.
Okay.
So once you have that and you educate the customers around it, they just start sort of believing in you and saying, okay, this is also a necessity. Or I never realized I needed to use skincare in, let's say, on your neck, for example.
Yeah.
So just education and then converting those customers is the process.
So the beauty industry, usually when people speak about beauty and products, it's usually, one assumes it's for women, and it's a woman-centric industry. But Botanical, on the other hand, is something which is, I guess, you said unisex.
Yeah, gender neutral.
Gender neutral, yeah. So then, what made you
my theory is, if you have skin, you need to be doing...
Are men really so concerned about aging?
My theory goes back to, if you have skin, you need skincare.
Yeah, okay. That's a good one.
So, your men, women, teenagers, kids, or people sort of in the trans community, whoever you are, as long as you have skin on your face and your body, you need to apply skincare.
Okay.
So that is why I wanted to develop a range of products which was inclusive. Not only it could be applied on anybody's skin.
Right.
So yeah, we are very proud in being gender neutral.
Okay. So Hemangi, what do you feel about choices women have to make in this society? Whether you're a millennial, I am a Gen X.
Gen X.
But things really haven't changed that much. I still, we still, as mothers, daughters, sisters, we live in a society where you do take into opinions of your family members and society, and you make your choices taking all that into consideration. Keeping that in mind, how have you made this choice of career? I mean, was it very easy? Did your parents say, okay, fine, we've spent this much money, now you can change your career and do what you want? Was it very simple?
And I don't think anything in life which is really good comes that easy.
Yeah.
So there is obviously that daily, issue or
Reminder.
a reminder
That
or that little
we told
nudge
you
or
so.
a nag. Yeah. But at the same time is that if you are confident in yourself, I feel like what happens is you just sort of get into a space of decluttering in your brain. That
That's
it's okay.
important. Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. They're going to, everybody, it could be your parents, it could be your friends, they're going to have some opinions, yeah, about you. And especially when you're starting out, I feel like your biggest support is a stranger,
Yeah.
the first customer who does trust in you and buys it from you.
And sometimes it could be a stranger. You're so right about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who gives you that support from the outside when you're
Yeah.
not getting it from the
I
inside.
also feel it's because, there is this tendency of everybody putting you in a box.
Yeah.
And defining you already.
Yeah.
So it's out of their comfort zone when you don't follow the plan.
Yeah, 100%. I think
Right.
most people, how they judge you or how they
Yes.
think of you is also based on their own personal depth and width of their own experiences
Yeah.
versus who you stand for and what you stand for individually. So it's very easy for a person to be like, okay, this is the box that he or she fits in, and let's just compartmentalize
Right.
them and then just think of them. So anything, if they behave out of character in any way, they're like, okay, this girl is not doing this thing right, or they'll have a bunch of opinions.
Delhi is essentially what people call a superficial society also. And, there's so many voices around you. How do you tune out those voices and tune into yourself, your own voice? How did you do that?
So I think how it sort of started for me was things changed when I turned 30,
Okay.
right? Before that, I was still really pressured, and I would still try to make other people happy versus
People
myself.
pleasing, yeah.
Yeah, like that was probably an issue of mine.
Right.
Not like inherently or like overtly doing it with anyone, but like
Yeah.
just in my heart, I was like, okay, I have to keep other people happy also. I have to get married also. I have to, do all of these things by a certain age. And then I hit 30 and nothing happened. So I was like, you know what? And now it's time to listen to me. And I think that cluttering is always there. It's maybe a part of spirituality that sort of helps you or keeps you grounded.
Yeah.
Maybe the fact that you either journal or you write down your thoughts and you just kind of go back and keep on reminding yourself that no, I owe this to myself this time, and if this time I fail, at least I have
It's
no
on you.
regrets. It's on me.
It's on
I'll
you.
deal with it the way I have to.
So what was the turning point for you? I mean, when you were being pulled like someone else was driving your car, and what was the turning point where you decided to take the steering wheel in your own hands?
When nothing went the way it was supposed to anyhow. That's the time I was like, okay, I'm not married. I don't really have a business at this point or a job. Now what do I do?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, let me just take matters into my own hands, trust the universe for once, and get on this journey, and I'm sure everything will just work itself out.
And yeah, and the mistakes you make are your mistakes.
They're mine. I learned
you
from
own
them. Yeah.
And that's how you chalked out your way, which is very,
Yeah.
very interesting. So talking about marriages and society, a lot of your friends must be married,
Yeah,
kids.
married, kids, yeah, everything.
And so how come that was not expected from you, or was it?
It most certainly was. When all the friends around you are getting married and having not one but two babies, you're like, okay, now I'm like 31 and I don't even have a boyfriend. Where do we start? But then again, I think it goes back to how content in life you are.
Right.
And I'm extremely content. And now in hindsight, when I look back, if I was 25 or 26 and got married, I don't think I would have made the wisest option for myself.
No, you wouldn't have.
Given how I was at that stage, and maybe the definition of marriage has changed for me. It's not about just ticking that box and calling myself Mrs. XYZ.
Yeah.
And living happily in the society. It's more about finding a partner or a companion who's willing to support me, and I can do the same for them. And I can only do the same for them if I'm already content in myself.
So what's your opinion on marriage? And
My personal opinion on marriage is that men definitely need it more than women. because they rely on women for that sort of emotional support. But personally, for me, this is definitely something I want to do. But I want to be able to build those qualities in myself instead of finding those qualities in another partner first.
Okay.
So if I am, let's say, financially independent, intellectual, smart, strong, emotionally resilient, that is the only time I can go out there and be like, okay, now I can try to search the similar qualities in another man.
Right.
I can't go from a place of being, completely broken, an emotional wreck, a mental wreck, and be like.
But when you say these things, have you been all those in your life? Have
Most
you,
certainly.
You've been through a few failed relationships. Have you gone through that journey which has made you come to this point?
Most certainly, I feel like, I've had my entire decade of 20s sort of figuring out what do I want in a partner. And every time it sort of changes. Because I'm changing with time.
Yes.
And that's the one thing I never realized is that when I was, let's say, 22 or 23, what I wanted in a guy was what I was at that time. And then now at 31, what I want in a guy is completely different from what I wanted at 25. So I definitely don't trust my past self.
These days, whoever I speak to is very lonely. I mean, it's all talk about self-love, learning to live alone, being on your own, the woman who's on her own. What's happening with relationships? What's up with all these men these days? Are there good men left? Are there good men at all?
100%. I don't think that there are not good men left. I just feel like we are trying to make ourselves feel happier about ourselves and being lonely. So basically what happens is, this is a scientifically proven fact, and the research that I've usually done and what I usually read, they say that the more higher a woman goes in terms of emotional intellect, intelligence, smartness,
The more difficult it is to find a partner?
The pool
Gets smaller?
Yeah, goes to like 1% basically.
So you're saying you have a 1% pool?
Yeah, basically is what I'm trying to say. And for men, once they get to that 1%, their pool widens up like 80% of women.
Okay.
Because now they can choose from a 19-year-old girl to like anyone up till 35, 40, right? So, so I think that is why it's important to find that validation within your own self. But that doesn't mean that good men don't exist.
So you do believe that the pool is really small though?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay. And obviously, I also feel women have come to the point that they don't want to settle. I mean, it was always a tick in the box at one point, but you tick the box and you don't realize it's a lifetime decision you've taken. Getting married is a very, very, very important decision.
Yeah.
Especially in a country like India, I feel, where divorces are not that easy.
No.
It takes decades for a person to get divorced. You marry a family. And hence, when you take the decision, I think it's very nice when people in your generation also want to take their time and develop themselves, and there's really no time limit now to get married. It's all in your mind, according to me.
So, I have a little bit of a conservative approach when it comes to things like that. Like personally, I don't really believe in divorce. I believe if you have done something if you've entered into such an important institution called marriage, there have to be very major reasons for you to come out of it. So like domestic violence is one of them, and obviously each to their own. Having said
this
that,
is your personal opinion.
Yeah,
it doesn't
yeah,
have
yeah.
to apply to anybody
Absolutely
else.
not.
Yeah.
But then that also means...
And also and you're still growing and you might just change.
That I don't know.
Down the line, we'll have a conversation and you'll say, no, I changed and now
that,
I'm a different person.
That
with
I
different
don't
expectations. That's the beauty of life.
Yeah, you change, you grow.
I mean, Hemangi, let me tell you one thing. What I was and what my opinions were and what I thought my boundaries were have changed. Some boundaries
100%.
have become more defined and some boundaries are non-negotiable.
Fair
point. This is the fun part.
And I think that changes at every stage for you, right? Like, so my non-negotiables at 25 are very different from my non-negotiables at 31. Yeah. But the reason why I was stating that is that now marriage, the reason if I don't believe in divorce, that means the decision of marriage is also not going to be for just a check.
Yeah, which is for a lot of people, and we're not judging anybody for doing that.
No.
Yeah, I mean, like, have you come across a lot of couples which you feel got married early and are facing this? You've seen it around you. What is it in your generation?
Yeah, I think we all live in a society where, as growing up, you have so many options.
Yeah.
And it's like when you have so many options around you, your mind gets really cluttered. So even if you make a decision of settling with someone, most of the times people don't know who they are even before. So it's like you're just settling with someone out of maybe, let's say, sheer comfort or whatever reason suits them at that time. And then once they're in it, they realize, oh shit, what the hell did I just do? And then that's the end.
And it's also like something which we discussed that, there was a time, especially when I got married. I married when I was 21, and it was a conscious decision. I had done my master's by then, but it's too young. You have a long way to go, and it's not just your professional journey. It's not that you've educated yourself and now you're ready to get married. Life has to happen also. And marriage is not something which should be done by a certain age. I think women have educated themselves and value themselves much more now, not to take a lot of rubbish,
I think
like we discussed this the other day.
Yeah.
That do you think you will be the same person your mother was? You respect your mother, you love
Yeah.
your mother, but
Yeah.
do you think you can be the same person? I mean, I don't think my daughter would be the way I would. I would
Right.
wish she would learn from my experience.
Right.
I would not, you learn much before, but how is that? That plays a major role also, right? You've changed, the generation has changed.
Right.
Women don't have that kind of, they don't need to have that kind of patience. Why should women only have that patience?
So I think if we track back to marriage, right? Let's go back to 40, 50 years ago, right?
Yeah.
50 years ago is when women really got voting rights to begin with.
50 years ago, okay, long time, okay.
Yeah, 50 years is actually a really short
Right,
time.
okay.
If you look at how far we've come.
Of course, yeah.
But what happens is that the reason why women initially wanted to get, or they had to get married, was for survival.
Yeah.
So if we realize the theory that, okay, they were the caregivers, the men were the breadwinners, the women were the caregivers, they are the emotionally nurturing people, and the men are out there, running or fending for their family. Now that concept is completely, it still is there because that's imbibed in our conditioning. But because now women are working, making their own money, educating themselves, most certainly have voting rights, that philosophy is changing and that shift is happening. That's the reason why we probably feel, okay, we don't need a partner, we want a partner. So when you want versus you're depending on a partner for your survival, then that really puts, your thoughts on like, what do you want? How will you value the partner? What do you need in a relationship? The level of chemistry, the level of compatibility.
Right.
All of that tends to play a bigger factor.
Yeah. Also, I think, longevity of relationships, a lot has changed. Like you said, there's so many choices out there. There's so much exposure out there. And one has to be continuously growing and, searching spiritually.
Yeah.
So that you're content at some point in life.
Yeah.
You have some kind of stability in your mind.
Yeah.
And realistic expectations from people also. So in today's day and age, beauty plays a major role. Self-awareness, self-love, looking good. How important is looking good?
Extremely important.
What do you mean? When you say looking good, what do you mean? How do you define that?
Looking good is, it's a two-way thing, right? It's your internal happiness shows on your face, your internal confidence definitely shows on your face, and obviously what you look in terms of your physical features and appearance and health and fitness.
I mean, I don't think it's any longer about looking good for somebody. It's looking good for your own self, isn't it?
Yeah, so actually I went for a wedding a couple of years ago, and my weight was a little bit on the heavier side and skin was how it is right now. But somehow I was a lot more confident from within. I don't know what it was. Maybe I was just happier. And the amount of compliments I got at that wedding, and I was like, what did I do different? The makeup is the same. If anything, I have gained a few kilos. Not that I was, on the thinner side at that time. But then somehow it was, then I realized after probably introspection, I think it was my confidence. Those days I was feeling really good about myself. So when I went out, the vibes were just sort of transported to the other person.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this whole weight game and makes a lot of difference to our psyche also.
Yeah.
We all want to look good. We all want to be slim and fit.
Yeah.
It takes in a lot of effort, but then life happens when you work and you face a lot of pressures.
Yeah.
You can't constantly be watching what you eat.
No.
It is a challenge.
On days I'm stressed, I'm like
Yeah.
binge eating.
Right.
Just thinking and just munching on whatever comes my way. I have no
I think
idea.
as a woman with all your cycles and everything, and your weight keeps fluctuating.
Yeah.
And it's not a myth. It's
No,
a reality.
yeah.
And the funny thing is that I met Hemangi a week ago, and she was on a diet.
Yeah.
And of course, because she said I've the last month or two I've just let go, and now I'm on my diet. And there I was, giving her a sermon and saying that, why are you on a diet? Why can't you just have a balanced meal? And, all that was very hunky-dory because I was going along with my vibes until last night when I told Hemangi I'm not fitting into any
nothing
of
is
my
fitting.
pants.
Yeah.
And that's whether I look good, I have to accept or no, when something doesn't fit you, it really scares you.
Yeah, it's like that reality check just hits you that, oh shit, this outfit isn't fitting me. It was fitting me like 2 months ago.
Yeah, that's. I mean, it might sound shallow, but it's something which really makes a difference.
No, it
to
definitely
me.
gives you that level of confidence that you need from within.
Yeah, and so then after I said, then I called her up. I said, you know what? I think I'm going to be following the same diet. It seems, balanced eating and all that is fine, but. Sometimes, you end up doing a lot of emotional eating.
Yeah.
And you don't realize what you're putting into your mouth and conscious.
No.
So this whole conscious eating concept is very, very important.
Yeah, very important, and it has to be made into a habit. Like
Right.
I'm not used to it. My binge eating is chips and bhel puri and whatever snacks and the junkiest of food is my comfort food.
Yeah.
And that switch of like making that conscious choice all the time. Also, I think because I'm in the skincare industry, so
Yes.
whatever I'm eating, I'm more conscious that it's going to show
Right.
up on my face as acne spots or blemishes or something
Yeah.
or the other. And if my skin isn't healthy or looking good, the third person will say कि यार इससे क्यों खरीदूं जब इसी का skin घटिया लग रहा है. So obviously,
Yeah.
these things you sort of think about and you're like, no, I am the founder of my brand.
Yeah.
I take the...
And you're the face of your brand.
I'm
seen
the face
you,
of my
yeah.
brand with,
Yeah.
all the Instagram reels and posts that I keep on doing and, keep on just jabbering about something or
So
the
tell
other.
me, all that talk about love, do you believe in soulmates?
No.
You don't?
No,
Why?
absolutely. I think that's bullshit.
Okay.
Soulmate is a very nice sort of romantic word to hear.
So you're not a romantic?
Oh no, I am definitely not a romantic
Very
at
good.
all.
Yeah.
I don't really believe it was fun seeing. I think it did. The TV shows
Yeah.
did botch my reality of what relationships.
I call it the Disney princess syndrome.
Yeah, I think we all have that, right? Like growing up, it was
Yeah.
like, oh, this is your idea of
You
love.
idealize.
Yeah, you idealize a
Your
version
partner.
or you actually idealize a story. I don't even think you idealize a person. I think you idealize a story of how it's going to happen. And honestly, it's nothing like it, right? In real life, like even in stories, in these romantic stories, they never show you once the couple gets together, what happens after that.
When life happens.
Yeah, they only show you like that.
Happy ending?
They don't even show you the ending is okay, they're married. What
Yeah.
happens after that?
So marriage is considered to be such an important thing in our society more than anything else. I mean, it's like every conversation about a woman is, so when are you going to get married? And having that man by your side seems to be very important. What's your opinion on that? I mean, now, like for example, when you go out and you have a lot of friends who are married, it's pretty obvious that the next question is, when are you getting married?
Yeah, I used to have a lot of those questions. When are you getting married? When are you getting married? लड़का अच्छा लड़का कब ढूंढेगी? And I would say, okay, I'm doing my work. Work तो ठीक है, वो तो होता रहेगा. लड़का कब ढूंढेगी? लड़का, it's almost like that is a really big title of Mrs. XYZ is probably the most important journey of a woman's life. Like once you've achieved that, it seems like you've achieved it all. But personally, I've just sort of now listen and just say, soon.
How important is it, a lot of people feel financial independence is, someone is important for that person who hasn't seen, who comes from a difficult, struggling, impoverished background. But according to me, financial independence should be there for everyone and anyone. How important is it for a woman today to be financially independent?
I would say it's important for anyone
Yeah.
to be financially independent. If you want to be respected,
Respected, yes, true.
it doesn't matter if you come from a very privileged background or not. But that level of respect only comes if you are financially independent
Do
yourself.
do you believe that, I mean, from what you've seen in life in general, people, your friends, your family, everywhere, being a mother, being a wife is not enough?
I think it is enough for most people because that's how they're probably conditioned.
So can't they get respect from being that alone? I mean, why do you have to be financially independent?
You don't, but then again, you can get respect as a mom, as the roles that you play, right? As a mom, as a wife, as a human being, probably not.
That I agree with you. You know, things have really changed.
Yeah.
A lot more is expected of us women now.
Yeah.
Nobody's becoming the mother. Nobody's, giving birth to those children. But now you have to add on to those responsibilities. You have
Yeah.
to be financially independent also.
Yeah.
Because then again, life happens.
Yeah.
And I'm very glad to hear that, this is one of the criteria for you going forward. And you give this as much importance as getting married. Or if
Yeah.
not more.
Yeah,
In your
100%.
case, right?
Yeah,
To be
yeah.
financially independent.
Yeah.
So that's wonderful. Let's talk about your love life. Okay.
The non-existent love life.
Yeah. So you said you don't believe in soulmates, but you
No.
believe in love.
Yeah. I believe that I don't believe in being in love. I don't think that is real, but I do believe that you can love, different people at different times in your life on.
Do you think there's an
depending upon-
ideal boy out there for you?
I hope.
Okay.
But I think it just goes back to where I think everything just sort of tailors back to the same thing. Who you are is what you're going to get. Always. It's just something that I have seen in my life where I've been confused. Maybe I've, attracted confused people myself. And the time that I've not been as confused, I've got probably a lot more clarity within my mind. That has tend to sort of reflect back.
What is, I almost feel like there's something wrong with, people these days when it comes to commitment.
Yeah, so I've heard.
Yeah, so, so I mean, like there's something to do with, men committing to a relationship, and do you feel that's common in your generation?
I've seen a mix of both.
Right.
Men who are not wanting to commit at all, men who are overly wanting to commit. So there's no balance. There's no key, okay, we'll figure it out and then we'll eventually commit.
Okay.
It's either like, yes, I'm only in it for marriage, or it's like, even if I meet you 1700 times, I'm not going to commit.
Okay.
So I'm not able to find that sort of balance in the middle, guys. From what I've seen, either they're like 100% in it, or they'll be like, no, I can't do it.
So when it comes to financial independence, Hemangi, isn't it something which comes along, you've come from a fairly decent family, you have, they're well off, and a lot of people must be saying, Terko kya zarurat hai? Why do you really need to do anything? Why are you so concerned? Why are you running around trying to make a career? Do you face that?
So funny you say that. I don't exactly remember the timeline, but I was at a friend's house attending a party and casually listening into two boys or three boys conversation, and all married, talking about their wives. And I'm single. I'm like, what the question you asked is what one would believe, that I'm leaving my house.
Yes.
I'm leaving everything. I'm giving away, like, it's not really even about the last name. I'm changing my existence, my current reality to fit yours. The least you can do is something back in return. And during my father's time, I am sure that because my mom is very happily married, so yeah, I'm sure that the men were able to do that for women. But I don't know whether the narrative changed, or maybe it stayed the same. I'm not sure. But these are 2, 3, 31-year-old men having a discussion about their wives, and the first one goes, कभी ना बीवी के नाम पे कुछ नहीं करना चाहिए. And I was shocked. I was like, the women are leaving their houses, lives, livelihoods, everything to come into your life, and you say, no, no, you don't know कब divorce हो सकता है, you don't know क्या हो सकता है. So we can't just, give everything or give anything to the wife as a matter of fact. So this makes it all the more important for women to actually come into any relationship being 100% financially independent.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's not just your generation. It's not the 31-year-olds of today. I mean, maybe you heard it and maybe people talk about it. They're more vocal about it today.
Yeah.
But it's always been a very patriarchal society, I mean, where have women, when I got married, it was not that automatically, I'll be given X, Y, and Z, and I didn't have that right to enter their businesses, and I didn't want to take decisions for them in their workplace. So, you're not really a partner like that. And yes, I think financial independence plays a long role. According to me, the stress I would give this is much more now.
Yeah.
When I see my journey and, I feel I was given all the weapons to live my life. I came from a professional background. My father educated me, gave me all the opportunities. But I had that whole syndrome, Disney Princess, Karan Johar movie syndrome, where you feel like that perfect life, perfect love story, and life doesn't work out like that. So whether it's men from that generation or whether it's men from this generation, I think they're very protective about their boundaries and protected about their businesses, and no one's going to allow a woman to take the decision. And I also agree with you when it comes to the point of respect. I remember my sister was working, and then she got pregnant, and when she was delivering a baby, and after her baby, she had this conflict inside her whether she should leave her work or look after the child. And we saw that working gave her a huge sense of fulfillment, a lot of respect. Sadly, being a mother doesn't give you that respect. It's really sad. I mean, I don't think I'm going to get any award for being the best mother. That's taken for granted.
It's taken for granted.
You see, it's taken for granted.
It comes with your role as a woman.
Your parents will take it for granted that you listen to them. You get married, your husband will take it for granted that, this is how you're supposed to live your life. It's all taken for granted. You're not going to get marks for being the good wife always. No. Sometimes, I think my experience is the smart ones, the ones who are not good, are better off. So what is good and not good? Be good for yourself.
It's a very subjective and a very relative term now, I think, is as long as you're good for yourself.
I mean, who are you proving this to? And like time flies, your children will fly out of the nest. And they're not going to give you that special thing. Yes, you can be proud of bringing up good children. But all that is a part of the universe, according to me. And we've all come on our own journeys, and we've come with our own blueprint. And it's really a disservice if you don't listen to yourself.
You have to, as millennials would say, YOLO, which means you only live once. So you do owe this to yourself. You owe this life to yourself.
Yes, you most certainly do. So there's been a lot of chatter these days about the biological clock of a woman, Hemangi, and during these days I feel science is very ahead and people speak a lot about freezing their eggs. What's your point on takeaway on that?
I honestly did a shit ton of research on this.
What made you research?
My age, obviously. They're like, okay, you're 30. The main reason why I feel like a lot of, the people that I do know got married so young was to have babies at an early age. And I'm already 31, not married yet, obviously. So for me, having a baby is actually really important decision. And
for most women, it seems to be something they want, and the marriage part is the one.
Like that is something certainly I do really want in my life is a baby. So I had to figure out, okay, what are the various ways that I can sort of, delay it, or at least even if I'm not married right now, whenever I am, that is something that I
So
could
that's
do.
something you're open to, and
Most certainly something that I'm open to, but when I did the research, I sort of found out that you have to inject yourself with a bunch of hormones for a set period of time. So your body basically goes into sort of simulation thinking that you're pregnant, but you're not, which means that you'll probably have to face that twice in your life. Once while freezing the eggs, and then once while actually being pregnant. So it is a very cumbersome process, a long, drawn out, cumbersome process. So I would say that it has to be like done at a time, and given my work. So it's like, how do I handle, the freezing part and focusing on work at the same time?
yeah, I would say you have a lot of time, and that's,
I have a lot of time right now, yeah.
So but it's important to educate yourself,
Yeah.
and not to be closed up to any
No.
strong opinions on
No.
this, topic.
No, the point is you want kids, right? So you
No,
just have to
because
sort
I'll
of.
tell you, because time flies,
Yeah.
and life goes on, and since you know this is one of the things you really want,
Yeah.
so this is something, yes, you have to keep it in your mind and then take it as it comes.
Yeah.
So tell me something, Hemangi, what is the best advice you've been given?
None. Zero.
Okay, so what's the worst advice you've been given?
Best advice, actually, I don't think anyone has ever given me any great advice besides your typical cliche ones, right? Like, you ought to do this for yourself, or, be strong in yourself. I don't even know what really an advice is, to be honest.
Point of
Like,
time in
what
life.
is your worst advice?
My worst advice? I have plenty of good and bad advice. I would say, like, the best advice, at different stages of my life, people have given me different forms of advice. And what's important is what is relevant to me at that point of my life. And how are they motivated for that advice? That's very important according to me, because someone might just give me advice, but that's more relevant to their experiences.
Right.
And we need to decipher on our own, with our own experiences with time, is like how you're saying, we need to decipher which are the words of wisdom which are applicable in our lives, right?
But then do you truly need advice? Because you're also just listening to them based on your own experiences and choosing to pick and choose, like cherry pick what is working for you at that time versus what is
I
not
think
working for you.
whether we need advice or whether we don't need advice, it comes along the way. It comes from your parents, it comes from
I
your
would not
sisters.
call it advice.
Yeah.
I would give it a different name.
What is it?
Opinions.
I mean, I think it just comes along the way. I mean,
Yeah, opinions.
You and me will have a conversation. My opinion is, Hemangi, you should not go on a diet, and you're like, no. And then, so it's just opinions. It's advice, and along the way, in my various stages of life, I have also learned to block out all these voices.
Yeah.
You hear everybody's voice, but then you go back and you see what is tailor-made for yourself.
Yeah.
Because number one, what is the motivation of their advice or opinion? And
Yeah.
number two, does it really work for you and your life journey?
Yeah.
Does it? Because see, who's going to pay your bills? Who's going to suffer the consequences? It's only you along the way. So I think, since you asked me that, what's my best and worst advice? I think my best advice is to myself.
Yeah.
To, take a decision and to be resilient and to stick to it. Yeah. Right? And the worst advice is to get swayed. You can't get swayed with what people think, what society thinks. You have to alienate yourself.
Yeah.
I think it's so important in life that you learn to spend time on your own, spend time, like you said, it's about being with yourself, right?
Yeah.
You were saying, when we spoke about love, you said being with yourself.
Yeah.
Falling in love with yourself, something
Yeah.
which we as Generation X didn't
Yeah.
know. That term didn't exist for us.
Yeah.
When I got married, there's nothing called self-awareness, love, purpose, and you were all these needy people.
Yeah.
Needy men and needy
Yeah.
women with unrealistic expectations,
That's-
and probably a love story you see.
So that's probably one benefit of having social media, right? Is like this awareness around and this importance around self-love.
I think it's truly, truly important. I have not really loved myself enough in this life. And like I've told a lot of my friends, that this is the motto of the rest of my life now,
Yeah.
to love myself and to
Yeah.
truly learn to be alone.
It's never too late.
Never too early, never too late.
No.
And also, learning to be on your own.
Yeah.
Okay, when you're on your own, you find ways, you actually question yourself. That's when you can talk to yourself, according
Yeah.
to me. And COVID did that for a lot of people.
It did.
People who have lived this automatic life. Okay, I'm going to get married in my 20s, I'm going to have my children before I turn 32, 35, whatever. You think you can prescribe all that, then you don't have time. You don't know what you've been doing. Like all my life, I've just felt like you got married, okay, you're doing your work, you're having your social events, life gets you.
Yeah.
And then you have your children, you have your family members. When are you living for yourself? When are you truly living for yourself? Which I really like when I speak to people from your generation also, and that you people are actually doing that from get-go.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
are now learning to live for yourself.
Yeah.
Which is so important, and that's not selfish.
No, it's like if I'm not going to have my own back, then who will?
Yeah, it's not necessary. I mean, even all our religious books and all, they say ki tum akele aaye ho, akele jaoge.
Correct.
Right? And of course, it's your journey with God and the universe, which
Yeah.
is the most important.
Important one.
And
Yeah.
then you have to prioritize your life. You have to prioritize things like, I mean, is it me? Is it, okay, it's my, usually it used to be very obvious for a woman. It was my children, my husband.
Yeah.
Okay? First it was my parents.
Yeah.
Most important thing is my parents. And then it became my husband, my children, either in that order.
Yeah.
But where are you in this whole bargain? Have you ever chosen yourself first?
Right.
So now I think my best advice is to choose myself.
Right.
Every day, every morning when you wake up, you have to make that decision.
Yeah. It's a choice.
And I'll tell you, the thing about reset your life is about people of different ages and different stages in their career, and women, men, all kinds of people who face challenges. We are learning and growing every day. The day you feel you've learned it all, you've grown, that's the end of it. I can learn something from Hemangi here today. I can learn from a much older person. It's something she has to offer to me, and I just have to be receptive and open to it all.
Correct.
So what's your opinion on that?
I completely agree. I feel like every age group, no matter how young or no matter how old they are, they have some words of wisdom and some, now this I would call advice, not an opinion, advice to share from their own personal anecdotes or own personal experiences, which you can then imbibe in your own and just probably learn from them.
I also feel it's more the age of your soul.
Yeah.
And maturity doesn't come with age
No.
as much as it comes with your experiences.
100%.
I've seen a lot of people who are much older and still clamoring on the same stories, same events, same jaded lives. And I've seen much younger people who have so much more to offer.
Yeah.
So I think these days with social media and with the much more wider aspect to everything else, we have this opportunity to learn and grow.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
And intermingle with people of all ages and all parts of society, and not just limit ourselves to this bubble.
Correct. I completely agree.
So I just feel like here now, living in this bubble of society, you can't limit yourself anymore.
No. And you shouldn't.
No, we shouldn't.
No.
Thank you so much, Hemangi. It's been
Thank you
lovely
so
to
much.
interact with you, and I've had a lovely time chatting with her. We would, of course, have another word with her soon, and we'll see what her opinion is on love and marriage and the ideal life and how she's changed on that. I'm sure it's going to be... See, I've changed. My opinions keep changing.
Maybe in the next 6 months, if we do this again, it'll be something else.
Yeah, so, and I'll tell you something, the good thing is, it's okay.
Yeah.
It is okay. You have the right to change your opinion whenever you want to. You have the right to have an opinion, learn, grow, and change.
Absolutely.
So I feel change, challenges, and chance. These 3 C's will always accompany us in life.
Change, challenges, and chance.
Chance. Because
Nice.
chances is something you will take.
100%.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here with me.
Thank you so much for having me.